Greetings and welcome. I'm Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you're doing well. I'm guided and led by Spirit. Trigger warning, the subject matter deals with mature nature. Trigger warning, the subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. All cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. It's been 24 hours since I've done a reading. Alright, so the saga continues, the Idaho 4 student murders. The long-awaited trial date has arrived, August 11, 2025. And let's have a look and see what the numbers reveal. The previous episode in the series is the Idaho 4 Plus series, the big reveal. If you have not watched it, I'm not going to give you a spoiler alert, but we now are dealing with several optics on this case. And we have, of course, lost the 4 students. So I've prepared Brian Kuberger's 369 date of birth because I don't believe we've really delved into that. So that is an option available. The death sentence or not, I've got the date here where whether the hearing happens all in one day and a decision is made. We can have a look at that. That is ready. And then also the trial date review. And unfortunately, I've picked up an anomaly with the trial date review. And unfortunately, we've seen that number combination before, the 8 verse 8 situation. You'll recall while we were waiting for the Karen Reed verdict, on the day that it was pronounced a mistrial, we have an 8 plus 8 situation, or we had, right? And of course, just to drive a point here quickly, there was a hidden 3710-1 in the Karen Reed case. If you recall the reading, I believe, episode 5. Which now kind of brings around the issue of, was there meddling in the background? In other words, was information forthcoming about the conflict? And were other verdicts given non-guilty or other charges non-guilty? Because the minute we have a hidden 3710-1, so in other words, the court system should not be hidden, right? Because it's a democratic, supposedly democratic process of justice, right? So why is the court system hidden? So what actually happened in the back there now that we're going back for the trial for her as well? So I mentioned in previous episodes, they are dragging this case to hell and back. Because can you imagine, and we'll go deeper, but as an overview, can you imagine the trial begins August 11, 2025. Now, we've been waiting since 23, is it? Gosh, I've got the other slide here. 1 second. Let's bring it in anyway. 2022. So we've waited approximately almost 3 years if we take this on face value. We start the trial August 11. We've waited 3 years. Now, depending on how long this process will take, these dates are more in a reflective mode. So let me just cover up here a bit. So this is from a reflective point of view. We can even say that on August the 17th, in the real, that there could be an issue. And that's something we need to look at, because the day before, let me explain why I'm saying the day before. This is sitting at midnight to sunrise. So let's take this day in the real, for example, because this is what bugged me as well. There's something off. There's still something off in this thing. And of course that would come from the actual source, right? Origin of how this all began, right? So we've got an issue at midnight to sunrise. Now we can all agree that court does not sit in during midnight. Unless, for example, the only way that it could, and I'm not a legal expert by any means. My various positions in work and jobs and mainline, yes, dealt with lawyers, but I'm not a lawyer. I mean, the only reason I would assume that there's a standoff, that the jury's already deciding what's happening, right? Because they could go through midnight till the next morning. The court case itself won't, because there's times when courts start and finish. So which means then the court case would have only lasted 16 days, which is 6 days, beg your pardon, which is impossible. So why is this here? And what I'm getting to, it's misplaced. It's wrong. So there's manipulation going on, right? Let's agree for one moment that there's manipulation going on, and this is anomaly here. Now I'm going to go back to Karen's case here. Look where the 8 plus 8 sits. So here is midnight to sunrise. This is daytime, during the day. This is nighttime. So hers is sitting in the right position in this case, right? Because we now know during this time there was a standoff or a mistrial, right? Not unanimous. However, in this case, we've got this situation at midnight. So what goes down the day before? So now I'm even prompted to see in the real. We're looking at this in the real now, because something can go down during this trial. Now, it's also hinting at there's an issue here with this trial, right? Or the participants in the trial. I'm just going to have a quick look here. We'll do this as a long read. As normal, I will do a summary. I will let you know when that summary begins, if you don't want to go through the process. But look what happens the day before in the real, ladies and gentlemen. August the 16th, 33:6. I almost want to say it. You know what I want to say? We're dealing with young people's lives here. If there was an issue because of drugs, or the theory of drugs, which brings around the 6s. If we look at the situation, 6 is about drugs as well. Poison. The day before in the real, the trial begins August 11. And when we get to the real August 16th, look what happens after dark. I didn't create the conflict. I'm not creating a story here. I'm not creating what could happen. I'm just pointing out first anomalous numbers. The first protocol, in my opinion, when beginning a chart afresh, if you will, is pick out the issues first. What stands out as problematic numbers given the context? So we know this is midnight to sunrise. So why is there an issue overnight? In my opinion, it can only be if the case is already decided and the jury is deciding. And because whatever, it can't be. So 33.6, 24.6, 15.6, we've already mentioned in Idaho 4 plus, the big reveal episode, 39.12.3. This was an operation in measure. So this brings around the concept of the bearded convict, right? Like we saw with the bearded dragon in London or England. England in Southport visit and his new look, the Lizard King, the Blood King's spawn. Also donning a blanket. Sorry, someone just put a spiritual blanket over me, thank you. Donning his bearded dragon look. What is going on in the world, ladies and gentlemen? I think will be my podcast, first podcast for Sunday, which is out on the 20th. If you watch in real time in the evening, Central African time. Intuitive podcast, Intuitive Sundays. What the fuck is going on in the world? So the day before in the real, we've got a situation here, ladies and gentlemen. 33.6, something's going down. The reason why something's gone down is created a conflict. And 17.8 points to an homicide. Oh, you know who's pinging on me now? The Jeffrey Epstein case. Do you remember Jeffrey Epstein was murdered? Well, allegedly, in his cell. I'm going to bring in the Jeffrey Epstein slide. Still, it's the old imaging, of course. The day goes down here, right? So 10th of the 8th, we're just looking for common numbers. So month 8, we see the 17.8, 11 twos, the familiar 18.9 murder, 12.3. Of course, operation. This is Epstein's 13.4. I'm just looking. So again, we've got the 8 and the 17.8. 8 in the month. 8 in the month and the 17.8 and the 9. And the 9. This is starting to tell me that if things are not going the way the puppet masters want, there's actually a very good likelihood that we could find ourselves with another Jeffrey Epstein situation. Very similar numbers. 16.7 now becomes like an assassination number, if we're looking at it in the real. Do you see what's happening? 33.6 takedown. Now let's just say, for argument's sake, these numbers were here, 33.6, 24, 15.6, but there were completely different numbers here for whatever reason, for whatever the sequence of events was. Then we could say there's no match. Okay, well, we've got 3 number matches already. 1, and that's a serious position. 1, that is as well. It's not the most influential, but it's there. 2, here is probably one of the most significant. 3, 1, 2, 3. We know 33.6 is someone else is going to be sacrificed. Why is there a conflict here? That's all I'm pointing out, is why is there a conflict here? That's all. Why would there be a conflict at midnight before sunrise? So the alarm bells are going. The sirens are going off because someone's been discovered at 5 a.m., whatever it's going to be, however they're going to puppet it. And then when we get to everyone waiting at court starts hearing, I'm just suggesting it's you know, the thing is with these guys, and we saw it with the actual event here. Where's that other slide? The slide here. So if you haven't watched ID4 Plus, I'm going to do a bit of a scan, but rather watch the whole thing. And it's not about the minutes. If you want to know the full story. So when we go into and discussed in ID4 Plus, the +3, +6, +9. Yeah, they are here. All happy to be part of the party. How can we assist? But what I'm getting to is when you're dealing with these people, they are as methodical as MI6. They move in a certain way. They do things in a certain way. They tiptoe around things in a certain way, but they always leave the same fingerprints. They always leave the same fingerprints. They always leave their fingerprints. Look there. Just spotted that now, actually. Look here. (33.6), (24.6). Look there, ladies and gentlemen. There's only one way to do things, and that's to do them our way, and this is the way that works for us for years. 24.6, 15.6. All is revealed in the +9. Now we see 33.6. What is going on? I'm not... You can see. What do we have here now? So what has been planned for this day in the real? So this, I will say, and I'm not putting a caution on what I've just said. But what I'm saying is, if things aren't going their way after first week of trial, shit is going to go down. The trial date here, okay, so that's the first thing. All right, so the second thing now that has bothered me about this trial date. On the surface, it looks very operational, very military. Here's a heavy transactional number. In the day, it's also unusual, in my opinion. It's almost like it's a done deal. A done deal. And if we look at the +9, 28.10.1 is the message that has been sent. So what is the message that they want to send about all of this? What is the message? You recall, and I'm just going to grab the slide now quickly, from the ID4 episode. If you haven't seen it, sorry for the spoiler alert, but it's worth watching. In the ID4, the document here where this housemate kind of tells Brian to F off, we see 28.10.1. What was the message? What is the message? We see also, and I'm going to compare with another trial. Have a look here. The +9, we see the 37.10.1, higher ups. Now, we can argue, of course, we're in a judicial system. So this is the court. There's a double message been sent. Double message. It's all been transacted. Because if we flip the lens, the optics, that 37.10.1 also becomes the higher-ups involved, making the decisions. The outcome on the start, August 11, what's bugging me here is the human side. Where are the humans in the story? Right? So what is this trial about? You recall 11.2. So the day starts with an 11.2. So technically that's actually also a problem. Tentative, 50-50, depending on what transpires beforehand. Also, I will draw your attention to the build-up to the event. We see a 11.2 plus 11.2 scenario. So the reason why this went down was because laws were being broken. And ironically, another law was broken, right? If we go on the narrative of the 39.12.3. Now, as an example, let's look at Karen Reed's trial. And up here, we see when the trial began. So if you just look at this at face value, of course, we see similar numbers, 28.10.1, 19.10.1. But there's more truth here, right? Because there's 11.2 in the middle. A law has been broken. I'm not saying the Karen Reed trial is perfect by any means. You know my reading stand, but I'm giving you an example. There's a hidden 22, hidden 20 outcome 2 outburst. This number here in the Karen Reed case is problematic. That's a problematic number in her case. But what I'm saying is there's more softer numbers than this here. There's a emotional number, 22. 20 outcome 2 is emotional number. There's a human involved here. And there's a number 4, facts. This is like an operation This is almost like, if we want to really go cynical, this is a date set. We can say, in one hand, we can say set in stone. However, because there's an 11-2, also indicates that this could be a tentative date. And if we get to this date and things aren't going our way by after week 1, we're going to implement this plan. You see what I'm saying? There's no law numbers here. In the full outcome, there's no law numbers. It's all about the message being sent. I'm not talking about the courtroom and process. These are processes. The law. 7-11. 7-11. Starts with like the 11-2. But ultimately not, right? So the puppet show continues, unfortunately, in my opinion. It's all so this is the death sentence or not chart. So November 7th, I don't know how it works, but let's just look at numbers. So there we go. See, there's a 7, for example. So it is about justice. It is about the law. There's been death, murder. We can agree. It was very violent murder, 26-8. Yes, we can agree. Referred to as a homicide, yes. And now, what is the punishment? 8, punishment. Does the punishment fit the crime? We hear. So that's the purpose of this trial then, isn't it? So the intention, so organization, this is like the government. I mean, it is a serious decision. Are we going to put this guy to death or not? Or is the death sentence, is the death sentence in play during the court case, right? So ultimate punishment. So yeah, 12-3 is, and 21-3 can be your court numbers. Also speaks about his arrest. But also, we can also say, on one hand, 12-3 speaks about community. What was the impact of this crime on the community? It created an emotional outburst, 22, of course. We see this ghastly number here. You know, if you get caught, if you commit a crime, you're going down. So in the actual, what I'm seeing here, 13-4, of course, speaks about the deaths of young children or young adults by the perpetrator. But again, we've seen those familiar numbers, right? 24-6, 15-6. We go on. This for me here is problematic. So my opinion is, once you're dealing with a construct that has a problem, so the construct is, on this evening, 4 students were murdered by allegedly this guy here, right? But when you start getting into the numbers, even the event numbers here, and I mentioned this before, there's an offset. There's something, it's not a major offset, but there's what they say in the matrix, there's a glitch in the matrix, right? So there's not a glitch in the matrix, but the numbers are wrong. It's like half are right, half are wrong, which means there's been manipulation. Because to have the +6 end on a 1455 is not... So if we look at court numbers, it does speak about disclosure, bringing evidence to courtroom, right? See, 16-7 here again, same as Karen Reed. Remember, 16-7. We have it in his reflection. These would be reflection dates, beg your pardon. I'm getting the sense, look, there's evidence to say that they're going for the death sentence, or it will be approved, however the jargon works. Because in the +9, what has been revealed, of course this is about a murder, but it's the clincher for me is the so-called ghastly nature of the crime. Do we know the full autopsies yet? I haven't even looked for that. Because I'm getting a sense during this part of the trial, or part of the sequence of events, that this year is leading me to believe that we may even get to know more about the actual situation of these guys, how they were found. In other words, we may be hearing the gory nature of this crime during this proceeding year. Because how do you convince a judge, or however the process works, but how do you convince them that there must be a death sentence? So we got two ghastly numbers here. You'll know from the crimes, 26-8 is on the day a very violent crime, very bloody, 6. Very bad for the human body, 8. 26-8, very violent crime. And then in the reveal, we see that even ghastly 35-8. First responders don't want to come to this crime scene. They do because that's part of their duty and service, and thank you. But first responders would rather not answer a call that is a 35-8, 26-8. And I believe this is why it's showing up here. We may get to discover more about what transpired here inside that house to convince the judge about a death sentence. Yet something still feels a little bit off here. 32.5, you see the 32.5 confirms what I'm saying about the 35.8 and the 26.8, because 32.5 also speaks about the destructive nature of the crime, of the manner in which they were murdered, but also the destructive nature impact to society. If there was a 9 here, unless, so for argument's sake, and I stand to be corrected, but I will explain what I mean by the 9. So everyone gives their evidence here. Do they get an answer on the same day, or is the answer expected the next day? I don't know. But what I'm saying is, if there was a 9 here, a 9, I'll just put there a 9 for example. If there was a 9 outcome, then I'd say guaranteed death penalty. At the moment, it's not guaranteed, in my opinion. There is some uncertainty around as well. We see it in, so this 11.2, we have this 11.2. That's why there's some uncertainty around as well. This would tell me, if this had to go through, right? Looking for reflections in the death sentence or not. This 37.10.1 can also speak about life imprisonment. Life, let's just say life. Life imprisonment, and I would assume that it comes with no parole, right? So that could be the answer there. Because even still in the court numbers here, I'm not seeing, of course it happens in a 9-year, but then if that is the case, then we need more definitive answers, right? Or evidence of it. That there would be a 9-year if I believe it would be a death sentence. So the closest thing I see here is 37.10.1, which is life imprisonment. If it gets to that. Because we have this issue lurking. So very interesting set of numbers. And compared to Karen's trial, people just don't want to let go, right? Still meddling, still meddling. If you're still watching, thank you. We're going to look at Brian. I'll just do I won't get too detailed, I don't think. Of course, he has all of these 5s here, which makes him, when you got all of these 5s and all of these 10 1s, all I'm going to say, there's very little emotional content going on here. Emotional, human content. Because even 21.3, I mean, this guy wakes up grumpy. I mean, this guy, I'm not saying always, and not all 21.3s wake up grumpy, but if you got a combination of all these numbers, 11.2, it's always a 50-50 morning anyway. And you got a 21.3 grumpy pants, 14.5 grumpy year pants. Your Mr. Grumpy Pants in the morning, that's for sure. And he's +3. You see, he's got this 40 outcome 4. Now, with all numbers, it depends on what level you want to go. Minimum, maximum. How do you want to, there's the saying, how do you want to treat other people, right? How do you want other people to treat you? Now, there's positive aspects about the 40 outcome 4, but, this can bring around that brute, punch in the nose, male masculinity bullshit, right? I wouldn't keep him around children with all the 13 4s. He has triple 13 4s hidden. So we look at the +6. So, having the 16.7 does bring around the propensity of serial behavior. These are very destructive numbers on top here. Huh? And 7, if you want to take it on the colloquial, is meant to be a number of justice, the right thing. And as much as he has that propensity to do the right thing, he has equal measure of being completely bombastic. 61-7 is a barbarian when it's let loose. Uh, 30 outcome 3 is interesting. Everyone's sexuality is their own right. But he may be dealing with something on that nature as well, actually, looking at this. Is this why he has an issue with women? This 33 is, by all accounts, and I know it's a +9, but so we're going deeper into here, right? This is like him not waking up very comfortable in the morning. Not necessarily himself. But each, that's what he may be dealing with. As bad as 61-7 is, he has this 41-5, which confirms this ghastly number here. 41-5 is what people do to bodies after the fact. You can go to Dharma. You can go to all those guys that kept trophies, or you know what I mean. This 64-10 one also, unfortunately, also says he actually doesn't give a shit about human beings, in one hand. Now, if you've got that number, that's not to say we're looking at combination of numbers. It's a combination of numbers, age, year, and knowing what we know. Do you know they always say the monster always looks calm and collective on the outside, but when you let him go, 61-7 is what animals do to other animals. Do you know what I mean? If I'm just saying, if you take it on worst case scenario, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it here. So the next event will be November the 7th, so we'll see what the outcome is there. I'm still getting that measure. There's a slight off on this, a slight off. And, one could argue, did it originate from the missing hours here? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there for now. Let's keep an eye on the next event date. And please leave your comments, your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate you. And stay blessed, stay safe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.